Welcome back, everybody, to the Freedom to Speak Easy podcast, where there is no prohibition on the First Amendment. Anthony Deameron here, Mark Rizzoli there. Mark, what say you today?
Hey, it's great to be here today. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We're going to get into school safety and
Big
our
topic.
parents, listen, our parents being misled that schools are safer than what they really are.
The apparatus is in place, Mark. Is for the structure when there's a problem with a student or students, for the parent involvement, what they can and cannot tell the parent, and where's the problem lie there? Do you see a
Well,
clear difference?
well, I think the problem right now is that superintendents are more concerned with a politically correct environment as opposed to providing a safe environment for children to learn.
Right.
And that's definitely the problem right now. I think you have basically your policies in place that are keeping parents and law enforcement in the dark.
Right.
You have incidents now in schools where assaults are being recorded. Getting back to the social media aspect of it, once again, being put on social media
Right.
to bully and harass children who were victims of these assaults.
Right. In here in this town, there was an incident not too long ago where a bunch of students, former students, current students, went to the Board of Ed meeting and complained about some type of a sexual assault. And we really don't know what the outcome what's that been. I mean, we really don't know. But they claimed that it was a systemic problem in both high schools. And really, I don't know from anybody that was been held accountable. The parents really didn't know. They were left in the dark too. So I know the school was also left in the dark, but there needs to be, obviously, if there's a problem, students should speak up, speak out, because there's too many of these instances, Mark, where you have students that really go too far, and then unfortunately the worst of the worst happens, and we saw that recently here down in Berkeley, and you want to mention who
Yeah,
that lady was?
I think what happened at Central Regional High School in Berkeley, where the victim she was beaten up in the hallway, pretty badly. Then she was harassed on social media with the videos of the assault, which led to her committing suicide. I think the bigger problem, not the bigger problem, but the problem with this entire incident was the fact that no one really helped her
Right.
after the fact. I mean, the law enforcement wasn't notified. Her parents, everything was basically trying to be handled administratively.
Right.
They were trying to adjudicate administratively, which obviously, once her parents got involved, once her dad got involved, he brought it to law enforcement's attention. I mean, it's very heartbreaking the fact that this girl, listen, she was a victim of an aggravated assault. Okay?
There was a crime that was committed,
Right.
Mark.
The administrators of that school have an obligation to notify the police department, not to handle it in-house. It's an aggravated assault. It wasn't a student on student dispute or fight where they could handle it through suspension and whatnot.
Right.
This was a clear-cut aggravated assault. If you watch the video, you can clearly see the way she was being assaulted. It was intent to
Brutal.
commit serious
Yeah.
bodily harm
Yes.
on her. I mean, when you're receiving blows to the head like she was and about the body, I mean that's a job for law enforcement, not a job for the superintendent who subsequently resigned because he tried to blame the family
Absolutely. Yeah.
for her committing
Right.
suicide.
It's just terrible. It's just disgusting.
But it's just the fact that they were trying to handle it administratively is very disturbing. And listen, let's face it. I mean, nothing from Phil Murphy, Craig Coughlin, because it doesn't fit their
Not a thing.
identity politics criteria. And let's face
Right.
it, she's white, straight.
Right.
She's not trans.
It's
right. If she was one of those things, this would have been like
100%.
oh my God, nonstop. It would have been,
100%.
Where's the AG's office? Where is the NJEA? Where's Spiller on this one?
Oh,
At the end of the day, our job is to defend those who cannot defend themselves, right? That's the job of
Absolutely.
the administrators. This is exactly why I brought up the last show. We need cameras in the classrooms. They have to have cameras in the classrooms. There's clearly too much going on now where the school districts seem to be under the impression that there's this protective group in society now where no one can question them, no one can investigate them. So they're trying to literally handle everything on campus in the house, and it's getting out of control now. And I think every school district in this state has a problem with violence in middle schools,
Yes.
high schools.
yes.
And the fact that it's not going reported, that there's not more incident reports being done with the police department, is really disturbing.
Well, there's a couple things that I take away from there, Mark, and we'll break it down. First of all, the human element of it, where you know that this girl was brutally beaten. I mean, where is the adult, the parent, any teacher there, any administrator that wouldn't call law enforcement, call the parent?
Well, not only that, they didn't even call the EMS.
I mean, it's just
to the school nurse.
I mean, the moral high ground. I mean, I don't get it. Those individuals need to be really psychologically evaluated. I'm being serious.
Well, not only that, I hope the prosecutor's office interviews every
Absolutely.
administrator in that school who had direct knowledge of what happened, what occurred,
Right.
what was actually said in the meeting with the victim,
Right.
And at the end, she's the victim,
Right.
The fact that the former superintendent, was trying to put a spin on this, I mean, it really tells you
It's disgraceful.
how these school districts are operating right now. And the fact that 65% of our taxes go to them, and they work for the taxpayer. They don't seem to realize that.
Right.
Okay. They're entrusted with people's children. They're supposed to protect them. They're not supposed to be covering up incidents. If you have specific groups of kids who are violent, they need to be dealt with.
Absolutely. Well, listen, then that's the other half I wanted to get to is I think you see consequences of the lockdown, the shutdown of the schools. Yeah. These kids clearly have no social. What's in their brains? They're on video games all the time. They're in front of an iPad. Every school just about in this state they're dealt with. They either have an iPad or some type of computer that they're always in front of them. They get home, they're on a computer, and they don't know how to interact with one another. And you're seeing a lot of violence now in schools. This is widespread. It's just not this school. It's in a lot of these schools now.
Well, I think also the fact that children are so behind, they're getting frustrated from the lockdown.
Right.
Let's face it. I mean, we were there, man. It's very frustrating when you're in a class and you're having difficulties in math, science, or whatever, chemistry, whatever class. That's getting frustrated for children because the administrators and the school superintendents know these children are behind, but it's a bigger priority for them to pad their numbers. Like
push them along.
They have this big successful academically they're successful. Let's just push them along and send them to the next grade and let's pass the buck to the next group of teachers.
That's what it is. It's kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
And then you know what happens in this case is that society's left dealing with the consequences later on.
Well, and the consequences now is you have a poor girl, a girl who took her life.
Right.
And that's where the role of social media, right?
Right.
So let's get social media. You're allowed to post videos of people being assaulted, but you can't have freedom of speech when it comes to politics.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Twitter, you'll get banned if you post about the vaccines that don't work, the masks, but it's overrun with child porn.
Yes.
But in this instance, right, the other bullies are allowed to bully this poor girl to the point where she committed suicide with the videos of her assault.
It's crazy.
There's nothing on there that would have triggered where it would have been removed.
No. Listen, it makes you scratch your head. You could go to a public library, watch porn. That's legalized. There's no crime against that. But yet, when it comes to social media, we all know that there's a double standard there. But I really think though that there's a big problem coming here. And I'll say this too though. For anybody that has children, I think the next generation here, okay, and if you want to motivate your kid, it won't take much for your child. If they put effort in, they will rise above everybody else. Because I think what happens is this incident down in Berkeley, I think part of it is also that they're not afraid of any consequences. There's no fear of consequences when it comes to a lot of these kids now, and there really isn't.
Well, because you have elected officials who are protecting criminals.
Right, exactly.
It's basically violence has been changed where good people are rewarded. It's the opposite now. You have violent individuals who are being protected. Law-abiding citizens are being targeted, and all the elected officials, Governor Murphy, Craig Coughlin, the two giggling idiots who run around, all they do is giggle. They're like the Riddler and the Joker, right? They're always running around giggling around
Sure.
people. Then in the meantime, they're plotting on, passing legislation that's irrelevant and doesn't do anything for anybody. So right now, you want to do something, there should be something put in place, a uniform policy.
Right.
For every school district, they need to follow specific criteria. Where's the Attorney General's office here?
I don't know.
You have administrators of this school. The principal should be fired too.
Absolutely.
Why wasn't law enforcement notified? Why wasn't EMS called for this girl? And what else is going on throughout this state in these school districts?
Right. Well, you had that incident down in New Brunswick, Mark, if you remember, where the adult infiltrated the school for a week, and nobody caught on. And I got to be honest, how does the superintendent or the principal survive that? There is the first order of business duty of a school district is to keep the kids and the staff safe. That's it. You don't know who this person was. They're roaming the hallways. They're in the classroom, and nobody picked up on it for a week.
Well, once again, another principal that should be called on the carpet.
Absolutely.
You know, why aren't the teachers? Are the teachers taking attendance? How did this woman how was this woman able to do that?
I don't know. It's scary to think that the school.
Where's the school security?
Absolutely.
Is there some type of do you have some type of pass that you need to get into the
right?
building?
Right.
I mean, there needs to be more. There's no emphasis put on safety. All you hear about is sex curriculum, CRT.
Right.
Now this fake news curriculum. What about school security? Right.
Absolutely.
What about protecting the kids? What about helping the kids and getting them caught up? None of that at all. It's all about this nonsense. Let's push this woke agenda bullshit on everyone, including our children.
Well, it's you think about it logically. They push a radical sex curriculum on young kids in the lower grades, okay? And these are coming from politicians, okay? Then you have an incident down in Berkeley where a girl is brutally beaten, okay? And there isn't any law that or fast, let's call it, a Megan's law, so to speak, so this type of stuff doesn't happen again. There's none of that. They incite violence. It's sad to say that, Mark, but there is no push to stop this at all whatsoever. We're coming from the politicians.
Right now, we're in the era of selective enforcement.
We are.
Right? If you don't meet their
winners and losers,
if you don't meet their identity politics, that criteria for identity politics, you're not getting serviced.
Right.
And let's face it.
And these are coming from people that are no better than any single one of you, and they choose the winners and losers. That's what they do.
What do you expect from a guy like Phil Murphy? The Bill of Rights is above my pay grade. I mean, he's responsible for thousands of deaths in nursing homes, right?
It is amazing.
So you know exactly where it's coming from. I mean, he
not an apology.
He let you know right up front. I call it catch and release. Their so-called bail reform policy.
Right.
So he clearly is all about defending criminals because in his warped sense, his ideology that comes first.
Yeah, he justifies it in his head that way. They're legends, as you would say, legends in their own minds, and they really are. And there is no other duty. I think as a human being, as a man, you protect women and children. That's like the first. That's your duty as a human being, as a man.
Well, it just goes to show the double standard.
I don't get it.
If law enforcement witnessed that fight and took no action, they'll all be fired.
Absolutely.
The fact that school administrators are still employed right now is beyond belief. They should all be suspended and fired.
Cameras in the classroom, Mark, like you call it.
You gotta have cameras in the classroom.
That solves that. Think about what it does immediately. Just the threat of having cameras in the classroom. It gives the parent an insight. Why can't the parents go on their computer and just pop in on their student, their son or their daughter?
Listen, anyone out there, if you have videos of violence in schools, send
it over to us.
Contact freedom to speakeasy.com. Send it over there right there, and we'll post them up. Listen, this has to be exposed. I mean, there seems to be no emphasis on school safety. It's all like I said before. It's all about creating the politically correct environment, not about the safe environment for learning. That's a fact.
100%. I think most people out there are rational human beings like us. We think this is common sense stuff. So I mean, but it's the same thing like the sex curriculum. Why do this?
Yeah.
Why do this? And I think that's part of school safety. I think you are taking when you deal with radical sex curriculum in the 3rd grade. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want it in the 3rd grade. I don't want it in the 4th. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
this was the
you're protecting their innocence there.
But that was the whole point of intimidating parents. They don't speak out about this stuff.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
The videos of the parents are concerned parents are extremists.
Show up to those board meetings.
Email the superintendents. I mean, if you see videos of fights in the schools, first off, it should be removed immediately, and there should be action taken, disciplinary action taken. I mean, kids should be able to go to school and not worry about being assaulted in the hallway.
Right. And I'll tell you this to parents, Mark. I'll say this to parents. The NJEA doesn't work for you. Okay, you don't work for them. All right. And if Spiller wants to come on and defend himself, he's more than welcome to come on anytime he wants. All right. And the NJEA has no interest in the student. Okay. Zero, as a matter of fact, and the parent. Okay. As a matter of fact, they want to keep things away from the parent. We know that for a fact. The way it breaks down, there's certain things that a student could go to an administrator, say something that is that as a parent, Mark, I think you would want to know that information that they're able to keep from the parent. What's the point if you're sending your kids to school then?
You can make a fair assessment right now. School district policies are meant to basically keep the parents in the dark. That's what it's all
Right,
about right now.
right.
Right? Yeah, they're always trying to come up with a way to circumvent parents. It's just that's why I listen.
You
You need parental guidance,
school choice.
parental rights. That's what it's all about. I mean, there's not enough people in Trenton right now defending parental rights.
There isn't, and I think school choice would be
Oh yeah,
a much another option for parents.
I agree.
And
I think school choice is necessary in New Jersey.
absolutely it is. And I know listen, Spiller can't stand it. So if Spiller's against it, I'm for it.
Well,
I mean, that's that simple.
Spiller's for Spiller. I
He
mean,
is.
he's basically using the union dues to finance his own political views and his own political career.
It's crazy. So, again, one last, parents show up to these board meetings. I mean, show up in droves. I wouldn't sit down for a second if there's something that your child, something has happened to your child. You show up there, they answer to you. They answer to you. I don't care if they speak or not. Sometimes you go up to these meetings, they don't even talk back to you. Okay.
Well, I was glad to see the high school kids walked out because they weren't
They did.
happy with
They
the way
did.
it was handled. So
Absolutely great.
Kudos to them.
Yeah.
I mean, for taking action on that.
Big shout out to them. And sometimes, you think about those kids that stood up and left. Those are future leaders. They really are. They know right from wrong. They know logical things that should be going on and actions that should be taken that are not taken. It's insane. So
listen, I really hope parents really at some point say, we had enough. I mean, when is enough enough?
well, listen, I think you have, and and if you want change, run for the school board. Run for them. Start knocking on doors. Join the PTO. Mark, there's ways to get involved. There's ways to speak out. Trust me when I tell you this. They will start once you gain a little steam and you can carry what they call carry some votes. They'll start listening to you. They really will, because that's all it's about. For most, not all of them. There are some good ones out there. Okay, and you don't need to be a former educator to be a good school board member either. Okay, that doesn't make a good school board member. So, my point is though is that for the bad ones out there, they react to the only threat they understand is losing power. That's it. That's all they really understand, Mark. So
yeah, well, that's it, man. That's why you have to vote.
You got to vote.
Send your vote by mails in. Use the early voting. In Old Bridge, we've been having problems the last 2 election cycles. The machine's been going down. I mean, prior to that was 3.5 hours and a couple hours. And then the Middlesex County Board of Elections will tell you that nothing happened.
Unbelievable. And then there's mail-in ballots being parachuted in 2 years ago, Mark.
Oh, it's amazing. They come out everywhere. But
they're parachuting from the sky down 4 days after the election.
Really,
4 or 5 days after the election.
It's really important to get out and vote. I mean, when you see what's going on in the school systems right now, it just can't continue.
It cannot.
There has to be some accountability.
And I think one day, and we're going to do a show before we wrap up and we get to the last call here. One day we will do a show. We'll break down how this is. If you ever wanted to run for office, let's say you wanted to run for city council, town council, how you go about doing that, how committee seats are. People don't even understand the committee vote, understand the committee, and I think it's a corrupt system myself. But we're going to get into that one day. We're going to sit down. We're going to break it down for you, explain how to do it, and all those things, and other ways that parents could get back and push back against some of the radical stuff that's being put on their child.
Run for Board of Ed.
Run for school board.
Yep.
Honestly,
run.
No, nobody. Listen, they put there. If you are a citizen of this country and you pay your taxes, run for the school board. All right, don't put up with this crap. It's unnecessary. So, Mark, with that said, we're going to do last call, and then again, folks, we are allowed to speak. Mark and I get 1 minute apiece. Speak about any topic we want to discuss up to about 1 minute. Mark, again, what say you?
Yeah, once again, the radicals gaslighting people. Secretary of Transportation at Pete Buttigieg, while we have a chemical disaster going on in East Palestine, Ohio, he's more concerned about calling construction companies racist, that they have too many white people working from not enough minorities. I mean, once again, always try. That's their way of trying to change the subject. When they're incompetent and they're failing at their job. Let's face it, he's only there as a favor. I mean, he was the residents of South Bend couldn't stand him. He was known as Pothole Pete. I mean, and he checks off the woke box because he's gay, right? He's put in a position like that, and all he knows how to do is everybody's racist. Let's take let's go after gas. Let's go after, anything that tries to change this country. He's typical of the left right now who hate this country. They hate America, and if you don't like America, Pete, I'm sure they'll take you in China.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna get to China.
Head on
right
over
now.
to Russia.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And for my last call tonight, folks, I want to circle back to what Mark and I were talking about earlier, and that is the best way to push back for any parent or any citizen that wants to push back against what's going on in these school districts is the best way is to run for school board. Flat out, that's the best way you could do it. There's no other way to putting it. To sit on the school board is the best thing you could possibly do. And having a vote that matters on the school board. So we encourage that. But if you are thinking about running for the school board, okay, there are so many questions that you probably would have. And I would highly, highly recommend before you make any decision, okay, to speak to my friend Michelle. She's one of our sponsors here on the Freedom to Speakeasy podcast. It's called Scarlet Marketing Strategies, and they specify in school board candidates. Okay, so future school board candidates, and mainly first timers, they host a monthly meeting, a virtual meeting. Michelle is terrific. I've worked with her. Mark's worked with her as well, and she hosts this virtual meeting every month. Go visit their website. It's scarletmarkstrat.com, scarletmarkstrat.com, and in this virtual town hall, if you would, okay, she goes into everything. She breaks it down for you what to expect in a campaign. But the Scarlet Marketing Strategies has like templates. So for walk literature, you have to go walking when you're running for office. So when you're knocking on doors, what do you hand out? They have templates that you could create basically your own walk list, your walk literature. Okay. So, have all your talking points, the reasons why you're running. She goes over all that stuff. She's like a one-stop shop, if you would, for school board candidates. Okay. And you're going to love her. She's terrific to deal with. It's a family-run business, and she does a terrific job. She's the best in the business. So before you make that decision, we encourage more school board candidates. And before you decide yes or no, and hopefully it is a yes, visit Scarlet Marketing Strategies and talk to Michelle. Visit their website, scarletmarkstrat.com. We're going to link to the sites as well. But hopefully we get more school board candidates come this November and the Novembers in the future. So that's the best way to push back. But until next time, folks, though, that's all the time we have for today. I will see you, Mark will see you back on the Freedom to Speakeasy podcast soon. All right. Take care, everybody, and stay safe. Thank you. Swing out, jive in. Come on, honey, show me how you move it. Swing out, jive in. 1, 2, 3 to the groove. Come and dance with me. Swing out.